Gun Talk continues now in a more informal setting. Get ready for an on-topic, off-topic free-for-all featuring Tom, call screener Michelle, and Gun Talk producer Jim. Now, lazily bon temps roulette. In Louisiana, that means let the after-show good times roll.
All right, we're in the after-show segment now. We got Jim and Michelle are here. Hi, guys.
Greetings.
Hello.
Michelle, I wanted to just follow up that caller who was looking for the 284 ammo, and you mentioned that it might be a seasonal ammo. What do you mean by that?
Many times manufacturers offer ammunitions at very specific times of the year. In other words, they only make a run 1, 2, maybe 3 times a year, and the ammunition is put out onto the market during very specific seasons, maybe before deer hunting or antelope seasons begin. A lot of the varmint ammunitions you can't get until just before the varmint seasons happen. So I don't know if a lot of people realize that not every ammunition is made every day. And of course, that's not an extremely popular caliber right now, even though there's still guns out there. So that happens with many calibers, actually.
It's a great point. I mean, you know that they're making 22s all the time. And you know they're probably making runs of 9mm and 45 and 223 all the time. But everything else, they generally will make a run and stop and say, okay, that'll take care of that for however long, 2 months. Because you know, probably the annual demand for 284 Winchester can probably load that in 2 days.
Right.
Just in terms of, you know, and they, of course, they've got to shut down equipment to re-equip or set up the loading stuff for 284. So they had to shut down something else. So they set it up and they're going to run for 2 or 3 days, you know, and who knows how much. It'd be interesting to know, but 100,000 rounds of 284 may be all they need for a whole year's worth of demand. And if the demand runs out, they don't care. They figure, you know, it's just not a big deal. You're not going to be mad at Winchester because they didn't have 284. You'll shoot your other gun.
Hopefully they have a good one.
It's an interesting cartridge. It's a rebated rim, so the body is fatter than the rim is. So you could use a smaller bolt face and use a fat case. It was kind of like the original of the fat body magnums that are so popular now. So anyway, it was, you could have a short action gun and have long action ballistics. But remember, this was in the 60s when this came out. It may have even been introduced in the 50s, but the 60s is when I became aware of it because that's the first time I was old enough to pay attention to anything. Like, hey, look at there, guns. Got guns on the wall everywhere. In my house, everywhere.
It's more like you had a wall on the guns.
Yeah, well, I would just tell you, the mom's pantry, it did not end up being a pantry because Dad took, what are they, like 1x2s? Yeah, something like that. And from the ceiling down to the floor, vertically, we'd run 1x2s. And then every 3 inches, he would drill a hole and put a wooden dowel in it. And we would make sure that the dowels would be long enough where horizontally we could put 2 guns on each dowel.
Oh, my gosh. I thought maybe it was going to be an ammo pantry at first.
Yeah. So you can imagine you walk in and the wall is full. I mean, with these wooden dowels across and the guns are slipped in, you basically slip one through the trigger guard and then the rest of the barrel on the other one. And they were 2 deep from floor to ceiling. And so her washroom became that. Her pantry became that. She was a good sport, I got to tell you.
That's great.
So it was just kind of what it was, you know.
Yep.
And it was a fun way to grow up because you always had all these different things, weird stuff. But that whole idea that Mike had called in and says, well, you know, you could take 6.5 by 284 brass and neck it up. Which, of course, that's the way we came to the 6.5 by 284 was taking that and 284 brass and necking it down.
Right, yeah. Speaking of odd cartridges and cool cartridges, maybe you could settle some of this unspoken tension between Michelle and I that you could cut with a knife.
We have tension?
We have tension, yes.
Can this relationship be saved?
I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't know there was a problem.
Well, I just feel your infidelity.
That's what they always say. You were the last to know.
You're the last to know, right. I think there's been an infidelity issue with you shooting somebody else's GT20, except mine.
Say it ain't so.
About that. I offered to be the first person to shoot Jim's gun, and he said, my son always does it. It's a tradition. I got to wait for him. So I moved on. Can't wait forever, Jim.
and see, now he's whining after he turned you down and you left for another.
That's
now
right.
He misses you.
I was denied, and luckily somebody who is a fan in this area listens to the show, also knows that we have a store, was kind enough to bring it in so my husband and I could shoot it. And I have to tell you, my daughter shot it as well, and it was fun, a great time.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. You get to shoot a lot of guns. You guys see a lot of guns come through there. And you're honest, no kidding, no promotion thoughts. What do you think of the pistol?
The pistol itself is large, but I understand it has to be big as well. But it wasn't uncontrollable. The recoil was, I thought, comfortable as far as that goes. It makes a lot of noise. We shot some hollow points through it just to see how it would perform. And I shot around, shot another, and my daughter is standing behind me. She's like, doubled. And
really?
Then, yeah. And then shot a third one. Yep. Got a triple right there. And it was great. It shot wonderful. Shot wonderful.
It's a nice trigger on it. Yeah. But it's, the one thing I have found, and Jim, you may have seen the same thing. And now in your range, you may not notice it, Michelle, but you shoot it outside, it flings brass halfway across the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does shoot the brass. Yep.
Man, I mean, we're not talking about 4 or 5 feet behind you. We're talking about 35 feet behind you. It's crazy how far the brass
cranks them, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We had previously owned one of the Omegas, one of the 10 millimeters, a long time ago. And it's quite different from that. I think it's a quite different feel of recoil as well, being a heavier gun. So I was very intrigued with how it performed. So everybody that calls in and says, it's the best gun, it shoots so well, it really does.
It really
They're
does.
right.
I hate to admit it.
He's not paying anybody off, people. It does. It shoots great.
It really does. I mean, it's like we're not selling them anymore. It's done, and nobody has to say this. And it's just a nice pistol. I think they did a good job with it. They really did. It's big and it's heavy. It takes the 10 millimeter. Now, I thought of it as a hunting gun. That's kind of what my thinking is. But I hear from people who say, I want to carry it. Wow.
Ooh.
I bought a holster for it. I bought a retention holster, a Blackhawk, which is what part of they offered kind of like package. If you buy this, you can get extra mags. And I like it. It is huge. I haven't carried it yet, but you know why I haven't carried it. It was another thing we talked about this week.
That's another subject we need to talk. In fact, we can move on to that because you had a medical issue, maybe traced to your firearm.
Yeah, my chiropractor believes that my L4 and 5, our lumbar 4 and 5, are aggravated because I carry a pistol. And it makes sense.
How are you carrying it and where?
I carry it kidney kind of position, like 3:30, 4 o'clock. And when I'm walking around, I forget I have it on. It's that comfortable. Right. And you sit down, you're aware. You sit down in the car, you're aware it's there. And he explained to me about balance, which it all made sense. And I'm going, but not me. It just applies to everybody else, not me. And then I asked him, well, can I carry an identical one on the other side and carry that left-handed? And he said, no, you're an idiot.
He didn't suggest balancing?
No, I thought it was a good shot, But,
well, what if you put the 10 on the left and a smaller gun on the right? Would that make it?
And switch them every day.
Then just your left side would hurt for a while.
Yeah, right.
We're laughing, but I had the same thing happen because I carry the exact same way, same place, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock position, and there are times when I can feel the strain in my back, and my chiropractor says the same thing. He says, hey, Bart says, that could be an issue there. Okay, so now what? Now, here's my question for you. I'm wondering if going from IWB on, kind of behind the point of your hip to an outside, just a belt carry, it could be open carry, but it could be still concealed, outside the waistband at the straight up 3 o'clock like you would wear a gun if you were going to the range, if that would help, or if you're still, you've got weight on one side and not on the other. You sit back against it and it's right on your back.
That's what the issue. That's what the issue. It wasn't the weight issue. It was the pressing. Okay. Because I do a lot of driving, and so you're everything's canted to compensate for that. So then I tried to go back to the crotch carry, and as much as I was a huge advocate of that, it wasn't comfortable to go back to it for some reason, and I'm not sure why. I'm going to have to investigate that a little bit, but I'm going to carry, but it looks like I'll be getting ankle holsters and secondary rigs, etc.
Do you wear a hat often? You could wear it like, under your hat.
He could put it in his hair.
I got a lot of hair. I could use that, yeah. Hair holster.
The hair carry method.
I like it. It's like the old Bee-Hive,
Yeah, that's right.
Get up in there.
What's that on Simpsons? They have the Bee-Hive hairdo.
Yeah, Bee-Hive holsters.
Just reach up in there and pull out a gun. Okay.
Got a cottage market we just started.
Well, now.
Excuse me while I let my hair down.
There's no way I can go anywhere with that. I'm just going to get in trouble. So
Go to break. When in doubt.
Okay. Tell you what, when we come back, I want to talk about, Jim, you sent me the video of the officers in Texas. Let's talk about that and kind of the lessons to be learned from that, okay?
All righty.
All right, be right back.
EWL by Slip 2000 is the absolute best gun lube available, period. It will never gum up or become sticky. It won't attract dust, dirt, or sand, and doesn't freeze in cold weather. It penetrates and bonds with a metal reducing friction and wear, which means less cleaning and easier cleaning. Why not try it? Visit our participating dealer for a free sample or go to slip2000.com. That's slip2000.com.
All right, back with you. Of course, it's the after show. And, if you are listening to this on your computer, let me quickly add in, that's one of the things we built into our new app, Dealio. You can listen to GUNTALK at any time, the podcast with your Dealio app, which is free, I might add, as well as you can watch videos and get all the great deals. So you don't have to be tied to your computer. It's a mobile world, so you can grab Dealio. Just go to gundealio.com. It's the easiest way to find it, and then it'll have the links to the App Store and to Google Play. So we think it's a pretty cool app. I'm excited about it. All right, Jim, Michelle, I was, as we went into the break, kind of teased this video that, Jim, you sent me. There's two officers, man and woman, in Texas. And essentially what happens, they ended up, this toofus, they're escorting out of this Applebee's. When they get outside, he reaches into his pants and pulls out what looks to be a Beretta 92. Turns out it's a BB gun that's shaped like a Beretta 92, so I don't know what that was about. But your take on seeing this and kind of your, oh my gosh, or, lessons to be learned from it.
Yeah, well, the first thing I saw is what you mentioned during the show was the use of the laser lights and the strobe tack lights, which the strobe, I've never even been aware of the strobe tack like that. They would throw a attacker kind of not into a seizure, but definitely disorient them, I would think.
It's very disorienting. If somebody's got a strobe on you, what it does is, when we played with that, it makes it hard to see what somebody's doing. If somebody's got a strobe on you, they could be moving right in on you, and you can't tell that they're moving on you. So it gives the officer, or us, in our case, some measure of cover, just because you're not only blinding them, but you're, like you say, you're disorienting them a little bit.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I saw a couple of things I thought maybe they could have done different, but I'm not a cop, so who am I to second guess them? I thought they were being nice to the guy by not handcuffing him in the men's room and escorting him out of the restaurant. They were going to take care of all that outside, and maybe that's something.
And I'm not sure what they were warning him for. That's the other part.
Yeah, I thought it said something about receiving stolen property, but I'm not sure. I may be confusing that with another article, but I thought that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
But he knew why they were there, and that's how the whole thing started out. Hey, you know why we're here.
Yeah, they all knew why they were there. Yeah.
And then you caught something I didn't catch. You mentioned about him moving the silverware off to the side so that he couldn't grab it on the walk out.
Yeah, the officer was just very aware that he had that situational, easy for me to say, awareness. Yeah, he had an essay going for him. So yeah, he moved the knife away from the edge of the table as they're walking out, so this guy couldn't just like grab a knife off the table and attack the officer. But the thing, one of the things that got me was how fast it all happens. And every time we see these videos, it's the same way. It's kind of like, it's not a slow motion deal. It's like the guy reaches in, pulls a gun, officer hollers gun, and then shots are being fired.
Right.
There's no time to wonder, should I be shooting?
Yeah, I actually sent that video to you and immediately sent it to, I've got another buddy of mine, and we constantly, we go back and forth about everything because we're buddies. 9 versus 45. He refuses to chamber carry, and no, I'll always have that extra half second. You think so?
Yeah.
Well, so I sent it to him and say, look how fast it really happens versus what you see in movies. He hasn't responded back yet. I may have PO'd him, but whatever. But you don't. You don't have time
what
for
it
that.
is. You don't. It's. You look at these. It's ridiculous to think, oh, yes, I will be able to get my gun out and rack the slide. When the other thing is, you may be fighting this guy off with one hand. So you've been attacked. You pull your gun out, and the best you can do is get it out of the holster, rock your elbow down to raise the muzzle, and pull the trigger with the barrel right up against him while you're trying to keep him from cutting your head off.
Yeah, or he's already shot your other arm.
But forget trying to rack the slide.
Right.
Why would you put yourself in that situation? I don't. And I know people say, well, I'm worried about carrying around in the chamber. Then get more training and be more careful. I don't know.
It happens fast.
Happens fast. The laser was interesting.
Oh, you brought up something about that I never thought of. It's almost like guns are in your blood, Tom. About the confusing your laser dot with your partners.
Yeah, that's one of the things that law enforcement, especially SWAT, they have to work on. Is imagine you got 6 people in a SWAT team, and they all have lasers. Whose laser is on the guy? Is it and I see a laser on him, and I pulled the trigger. Oh, yeah, but that wasn't mine. My gun was actually pointed somewhere else.
Right.
Rats. So, kind of interesting. I'm not sure how they train for that. I just know that they do. Now, if you are competent with your gun, Michelle, it's like you would never say, well, gee, I saw the red dot, and my gun was actually pointed 4 feet to the side over there. I know where my gun's pointed.
Right.
It's roughly pointed at him, and now I see the red dot.
And are they not using their sights for any kind of association with where they're pointed at?
Well, who knows? I don't know if they use their sights or not. We could see the laser, but generally, what you do is you'd look right over the top of the gun. You'd have it lined up. Mm-hmm. You're looking over the top, but one of the really big benefits of a laser that I think people miss is that when there's a real threat there, your eye is going to lock onto the threat, and it's going to be very difficult to get your focus to come back to the front sight. Well, if you're just looking at the threat and you put the dot on the threat, then you can take care of it. It's fast. But I think you're going to still look right over the top of your gun. What I'm going to do, I think, is look for my sights. If I don't see them, my head's going to pop up like a gopher coming up, and then I'll see my sight, my laser, rather.
Now, that's, again, assuming that you can see your sights. You're not shooting from the hip situationally. I mean, you may not always have a conventional shot.
Right. I just think you would use your sight as an acquisition as well. I don't know. I guess that's the way that I think of training. If you have a laser, not to just point and shoot with your laser, but to actually, acquire a sight picture.
I get that. You may be in a situation where you can't.
Right.
But you could hold it down by your waist or your knee, or you're laying on your back already.
So you what-ifed us.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Michelle, go into your range, turn off all the lights, and then put one small light down, 25 feet down there on a target so that you can't see your gun at all. Mm-hmm. You can see the target, and you can see a laser on it. There's just no way to see the sights.
Well, that's true, yes.
And you go, well, that's a crummy place to be. Well, it's pretty much where a lot of it is. When you're outdoors at night, it's dark. You can't see those sights. And I know people say, well, get night sights.
Yeah, but they don't. Sure. Right. It's not a projection. It's just a glow.
No, it's a glow, and I don't find them to be particularly fast. Now, they're pretty accurate. I mean, if I can find them and get them all lined up, it works pretty well. But, man, I'll tell you, the laser, I'm going to use iron sights first. I'm going to my irons. And the way I sight in my laser is when I'm looking right through my iron sights, I can't see the laser at all. It's lined up just slightly below my point of aim, so the front sight actually covers it. So if I'm on the sights, I cannot see the laser dot at all. But if I come up and I try to see the sights and they're not there, I can't see them because it's too dark, the natural reaction is your head's going to come up, you're going to pop up like a gopher, and you're going to see that laser right there that's just popped out from behind your front sight, and now you're good to go.
Well, and probably the other thing to keep in mind, too, is that threat is going to keep advancing. It's not going to stay still. So in that situation, if they're moving, yeah. I mean, yeah.
You should be moving, too. which is the other part of it. It's, you don't want to be standing there, being a bullet magnet. So you need to be moving as well. And that's one of the things that's difficult. You generally can't do it at indoor ranges. You can't move and shoot. But if you can find a way that you can practice, even if you can get an airsoft gun, if you carry a Smith & Wesson M&P, you can find an airsoft M&P.
Right, identical. That reminds me a lot of martial arts, which you just said, Tom. And there's correlations we've talked about before, but that's a perfect example where in karate and jiu-jitsu and judo, etc., you'll practice with, a guy comes up to you and does this. Well, the victim that you're defending yourself, that is about to be a victim, the person you're defending yourself against, they'll raise their hand and stop, and the teacher talks about how you grab, how you do this and that. Yet when they actually practice it, after a few times, you walk through it super slow. But in real life, nobody's ever just going to raise a knife at you and wait for you to grab their arm, and so you've got the static, I guess, description of how it works. But unless you're practicing in as close to real life situations as you can get, I question the validity of the training.
But you know what? But if you're Cindy from Baker City, Oregon, you could use martial arts.
You could.
And you
oh my goodness.
It was a caller that we had this, before the after show. She calls in. She says, what did she say? Guns were went out with the Cowboys. That's right.
They're out of style.
Went out with the Cowboys. And she wanted to know if she should have legal defense in case she kills somebody with martial arts, because she went to a self-defense class. And I'm thinking she probably was taught how to use her car keys to scratch somebody.
Yeah.
Going, really? I mean, I just got to say, she did not sound like somebody who could really harm somebody with martial arts.
She didn't sound real intimidating, yeah.
No. But Lynn Russell, on the other hand, formerly CNN.
Plus, she's cute. That never hurts.
Yeah, she's 4 inches taller than her husband.
Right.
And, as a mutual friend of ours said, who used to work with her at CNN, said, and that's when she's not wearing the stiletto heels, which she always wears. So,
wouldn't that be poetic
tall.
justice? Somebody picks a fight with her husband and she cleans his clock.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, like I say, he's Rambo-ish, or is
himself,
anyway.
Yeah,
so
yeah. And he took 3.
He took 3 and kept fighting. And that's the other thing. That's part of the mindset thing. And, of course, he's been there, done that. But when you think through, and what do we talk about all the time? Think through. When you think through the fight, everybody thinks about how magnificent they're going to be. And they're going to slap leather, and they're going to annihilate the bad guys. We also need to think about, okay, I'm getting shot here, or my loved one has been shot. Now what's my plan?
You already have an adrenaline issue to begin with. And so that extra amount of adrenaline that comes out of that and reactionary is critical. Absolutely
and
critical.
Also crippling. I mean, it can make you freeze.
Right. How do you practice that?
Yeah.
It's the mental aspect of working it through in your head and being aware and the consciousness of what you have to do in the situation.
They actually have a whole line of training called stress inoculation. And we actually are doing one of our GUNTALK television shows this year is very much about that. And it's about exercising, running, lifting weights, running with weights, running with a big old bag, and then stopping and shooting. And then picking up the bag and running with it and dropping it and drawing your gun and shooting. And then picking it up and running with it and dropping it and shooting. And just introduce stress into it so that you understand how to draw, come out, get on the sights, and then stop and then go, pop, pop. Take a deep breath, let it out, even though everything's happening fast. And that's kind of what the whole force-on-force training is for simunitions and all. It's teaching you how to still function in the midst of all this stress.
You just gave us a great office party idea. Simunitions office party. We'll get all our aggressions out on each other.
Wow.
Gee, what could go wrong? I'm thinking maybe you ought to dial it back, at least start with water balloons. See how that goes.
Perfect. Touche.
Oh, man.
Well, no glass in the sound room. It's all right.
Yeah. Well, we have our gun policy here, don't you? If you don't have a gun, you can't come in.
That's right. Well, you don't have
must
loaners?
Carry a gun.
Must have. That's right. It's a BYO, and it's required.
There you go.
BYOG. Oh, I'm liking it. All right, well, guys, I loved the story. The guy called, took his 93-year-old mother out shooting for the first time. Didn't you just love that thing?
Yeah, high five to him.
Fun, absolutely. And he did it the right way. You know, he thought everything through and tried to make it the best for her and started with a small gun. That's so critical to get them excited about it and break them into the industry. Yeah. I think it is more thrilling for the person teaching. Hard to believe when you see the excitement on the other person's face, but it just gives you self-satisfaction.
I agree. I mean, we say we're going to do it and they're going to enjoy it and all that, but you learn really quickly that I think you get more out of it than they do. And it just becomes so much fun. So,
absolutely.
Except for Jim.
Yeah, well,
he's just grumpy.
that's just, just the way it is.
That's just you all over.
I'm just a crabapple Jones.
All over. He's wrapping his hair up in a bun now, trying to figure out how he's going to get a holster in there.
He was hoping you didn't see that.
Oh, man. Well, now, on that frightening note, I think we will proceed. I'm headed up to South Dakota to go hang around with the folks from Black Hills Ammo with Jeff. We're going to go out and do a little cowboy shooting with some fun stuff, and then we're back here and doing more gun talk next week.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can share ammo manufacturing stories.
That's right, because you're going to go see they make ammo for machine guns?
They do reman, they do reload stuff, but their big market, their niche is subgun stuff.
Great Lakes Ammo.
Great Lakes Ammo in Wixom, Michigan, and they do a lot of subsonic ammo, and they're mixed in good with the guys down at Knob Creek, etc., and all the subgun shooters.
Cool. I'll tell you what, next week we will have, each of us could bring an ammo story. And Michelle, your job is to find ammo.
Yes, sir.
Start with 284, will you?
284, that's right.
Anything with a 22.
Close enough.
We'll take it.
That's right. That'll work. That's right.
Well, be safe,
She's going to come back with one round of 284. You know that.
Got it.
Got it. Everybody's, I'm good. Okay. It's like a scavenger hunt.
Yes.
So there you go. All right, you guys have a good week.
You
Take
too,
care.
Buddy. Be good.
Well, there you go. Another Gun Talk After Show is in the can. We sure do appreciate you sticking around. And remember, everything Gun Talk is available 24/7 at guntalk.com. See you next week for the Gun Talk After Show.